It's time for the picks. Hi there, I'm your brother, Buckeye, Doug Daniels, and these are my picks. First week, I was like 44 winners out of 52 tries, something like that. Last week, not nearly as good. I mean, I was in the plus column, but I took some wild chances because I wanted to be bold and daring and got burned several times instead of going with the safe pick. So, this is a garbage week of college football, at least on paper. That paper. Not a lot of exciting, close contests. The very, very few, which probably means there's going to be a lot of upsets. There's going to be a lot of what happened. This is usually the weekend where MAC teams beat Big Ten teams and embarrass the bottom feeders on the West, who may eventually win the Big Ten West, if you catch what I'm saying. Anyway, thank you very much. This is the Brother Buckeye Doug broadcast, because we don't use the word podcast. And I'm going to just go down the games. I'm going to skip over a few that just have no importance or relevance whatsoever. Where the line kind of jumps out at me, it makes me want to comment further. I'll just tell you who I think is going to win, and by doing so, in many cases, I'm telling you that I believe they will cover as well. There are some exceptions. So here we go. Now I got to look down at this, and this is in small print, but things get started tonight, Thursday, September 14th. The Hurricanes are 53.5-point favorites over Bethune-Cookman. The Wildcats. Oh, my gosh. How come nobody ever thought about that until Bethune-Cookman decided? That's a reference to a recent pick'em where it seemed like every other team was a Wildcat. Miami, this is a short week. Miami had that big win over Texas A&M. Do they pummel Bethune-Cookman and still win by 50 instead of 53.5? That's such a terrible program, though. Bethune-Cookman is such a terrible program. I want to go with the Hurricanes to win and to cover, but it would not surprise me if they don't. Navy Midshipmen versus the Memphis Tigers. Take the Tigers. Maryland and Virginia. This is actually one of the closer games, at least on paper. You would think this would be a close contest. Former rivals. The ESPN FPI has Maryland a 86% chance of winning. You think it'd be a little bit closer than that. Virginia has not looked good so far. Maryland 14.5-point favorites. If Leah throws a couple of interceptions, all bets are off. Again, it's a short week. Maryland will win. I'm not so sure they cover versus the Cavaliers. Army and the UTSA Roadrunners. Take the Roadrunners on that one. Utah State Aggies, Air Force. Air Force is heavily favored in this one. Well, I mean, they're favored by 9. Utah State is normally a decent team. I think the Falcons are on upset alert. They may very well win, but I don't know if they cover. I don't think they cover that 9-point spread. Florida State, Boston College. Take the Seminoles. Penn State, Illinois. This is one I struggle with because Penn State on the road rarely is as good as Penn State at home is. Illinois at home is better than Illinois on the road, usually. Don't like anything about Dennis Franklin. Penn State is a 14.5-point favorite. Oh, I don't believe Illinois is going to win this game outright. But I do think they do enough to keep it closer than 14.5 points. So picking the Illini to cover the spread there. LSU and Mississippi State Bulldogs. These games are always the weird ones for me. And I don't have right in front of me whether this is at Baton Rouge, or at the Cowbell. More cowbell. Death Valley. So Tigers are a 9.5-point favorite. I think it's in Death Valley. Take the Tigers, but it would not surprise me at all if Mississippi State covered and even won. I'm just not real sure about this Brian Kelly and the Bayou. I don't think it's going to end well, folks. Kansas State, Missouri, the Wildcats and the Tigers. Who would have thought it? Wildcats are a 4-point favorite, it looks like, and I am choosing Kansas State. Liberty and the Buffalo Bulls. I am taking Liberty. Louisville and Indiana. I was going to take Indiana. Let me look at this point spread a little closer. 10 points. Louisville favored by 10 points. Take Indiana. Maybe to win, but certainly to cover. I like what I've seen of Indiana enough to think that they could beat the Cardinals, or at least, So take the Hoosiers. Next up, Wisconsin, Georgia Southern Eagles. So Wisconsin's got to win that one. The point spread is about 20, looks like 26 points. Yeah, take the Fickles, the Fighting Fickles. Iowa State and Ohio Bobcats, take the Cyclones. Notre Dame, Central Michigan, take the Irish. Georgia Bulldogs, South Carolina Gamecocks. Again, one of those games, it's the SEC, but the Bulldogs are favored by 27.5. Yikes. Seems like a really wide spread there. Bulldogs to win, Gamecocks to cover. The Alabama Crimson Tide, favored by 33. Go with the Tide. Oregon State, San Diego State. Oregon State has got a 96% chance of winning this game, according to the ESPN FPI. San Diego State is usually okay. They're 2-1 on the year. Oregon State is favored by 24.5. Boy, that seems like a lot for a game like this. Oregon State to win, San Diego to cover. Oklahoma Sooners, Tulsa, take the Sooners. Minnesota, North Carolina, probably the most intriguing game of the week. Minnesota is going to be on the road, I believe, to North Carolina. They're both 2-0. North Carolina with a 73% chance of winning, according to the ESPN FPI. 7.5-point favorites. If Minnesota can run like it did this past week, of course they were playing Eastern Michigan. Yeah, the game's on the road, I believe. If it was at Minnesota, I would maybe go a different way, but I believe this game is on the road. So take Carolina and the points there. Minnesota doesn't get close enough, although I have picked Minnesota to win the Big Ten West, but that ain't saying much. Northwestern and Duke. Northwestern surprised us all by beating UTEP 38-7. They are 18.5 point underdogs to the Duke Blue Devils, who've looked like world beaters so far. Everything says take Duke. But I'm not. I'm going to take the Wildcats of Northwestern to cover. See, I'm doing what I did last week, where I'm going against the obvious. The Hawkeyes and the Broncos of Western Michigan. Again, another one of those MAC Big Ten games. Iowa doesn't score much points, so Western Michigan, all they need to do is block a punt, pick up a scoop and score. Anything crazy like that, because Iowa's not going to score more than 24 points. They just don't. So if anything goes Western Michigan's way, there's your upset. At least you're covering. This This says Iowa is a 28-point favorite over Western Michigan. They're not even going to score 28 points. Take Western Michigan. That's easy money right there. Rutgers and Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech playing another Big Ten team, sort of, kind of. Back-to-back weeks. They lost to Purdue at home. They're going to be on the road to Rutgers. Rutgers is the surprise team of the season. They are a 7-point favorite. When was the last time Rutgers was a 7-point favorite? I'm going to ride this Shiano train for at least another week. Rutgers wins and covers barely. And we're not going to do that one. Not going to do that one. Ohio State, Western Kentucky. Ohio State favored by 29.5. If this was like a 45-point thing, I would say no. But 29.5 is low enough for me to say yes. Ohio State not only will win, but cover. This could be that 50-20 game that I was predicting last week and the week before. 50 to, boy, I'd hate to see Ohio State's defense give up 20 points. But yeah, 50-20, Ohio State covers. Texas A&M versus the Louisiana Monroe Warhawks. Texas A&M, 36.5-point favorites. Texas A&M wins, but Louisiana Monroe covers. They're going to lose, but not by 36.5 points. Michigan State and Washington Huskies. This is the one of the best games of the week. Michigan State will be without their head coach. I like the Huskies. I like Michael Penix. But they are 17.5-point favorites over Michigan State. Michigan State might win this one for Tucker. And all the jokes will ensue. Michigan State might win this one outright. Worst case scenario, they lose, but they cover. And that's all I've got to say about that. Tennessee Gators normally would be a really good game. And it might be. Tennessee is favored by, looks like 6. And I don't have in front of me whether this game is at home or not. And I don't want to look it up. If this game is in the Swamp, I could see Florida winning outright, certainly covering. If it's at Tennessee, if it's at Knoxville, then no. Tennessee to win and to cover if it's in Knoxville. I just don't have that in front of me. Louisiana Tech Bulldogs, they are favored to beat the North Texas Mean Green. I'm not going to pick that one. Northern Illinois, Nebraska game. Interesting. Nebraska's an 11-point favorite. They're 0-2. For some reason, I thought they were 0-3. They're 0-2. They're at home. Northern Illinois beat Boston College. Will Nebraska finally have that breakout game? I think Nebraska wins. I think Northern Illinois covers. And then is this the final game right here? No, I think we've got another sheet here. Yep, another sheet. Cincinnati over the Red Hawks, and they do cover. Oklahoma State Cowboys, they win and cover over South Alabama. Toledo Rockets, 7-point dogs. No, they're 7-point favorites versus San Jose State. Oh, take Toledo to win and to cover. I really like their offense. Michigan and Bowling Green. Here's one. Michigan favored by 40.5. Michigan wins. Bowling Green covers. I don't think Michigan's going to beat Bowling Green by 40 points, 41 points. Ole Miss and Georgia Tech. Take Ole Miss. Arkansas, BYU. Take Arkansas. Kentucky versus Akron. Take Kentucky. Purdue and the Orange. They've got They've got Syracuse as the favorite. This is at Ross Aid, right? Take Purdue. Take Purdue to win outright and to cover. West Virginia, Pittsburgh. 2.5-point dogs, West Virginia. Take West Virginia to cover. Longhorns versus the Cowboys, Texas and Wyoming. 30-point favorites. Here's the thing about this one. Texas just had that big game versus Alabama. They're probably going to be playing a lot of players, taking out Ewers, skewers early. Wyoming is 2-0. Texas is going to win the game, but Wyoming, I don't think, is going to lose by 30 points. So take Wyoming to cover. Oregon Ducks, Hawaii. Again, this is another one where I don't like the point spread, 38 points. Ducks win. Not so sure that they cover. Take the Rainbow Warriors to lose by less than that 38.5 points. New Mexico, Aggies, and the Lobos. It's a 1 point. The Lobos are 1 point underdogs, I think. Geez. This is just, I'm just going to skip that one. That's just awful. No sense in taking. I'm not going to waste my record on that one. Clemson, Florida Atlantic. I'll take Clemson in this one. Just a few more to go here. Houston and the Horned Frogs. Take Houston to cover. Horned Frogs to win. Houston to cover. Colorado Buffaloes, Colorado State Rams. Is there still more magic in Boulder? They're 23-point favorites. You'd think they'd be due for at least a little bit of a letdown, especially with an in-state rival like that. But I'm not ready to get off this train yet. Go with the Buffaloes to cover, but it wouldn't surprise me if they don't. Fresno State, I've just got a thing for the Bulldogs. I've always liked Fresno State and their coach. I'm not sure if they still have the same coach with the walrus mustache or not. I've always liked that guy. I've never really cared much for Arizona State. So go with Fresno State there. Kansas Jayhawks, Nevada Wolfpack take the Jayhawks. And the last one is the Arizona Wildcats versus UTEP. UTEP lost to Northwestern by 31 points. Take the Wildcats. And that is it, my friends. Good luck with your picks. Let me know what you think below. Which pick do I have like totally wrong? Like, subscribe, do the notification thing, share, all of that kind of stuff. And again, to recap the Ohio State game, I do believe Ohio State covers that 29.5 point spread. I think they win by 30 or more. Now, whether that score is 50-20 or 45-15, I don't know. I would like for Western Kentucky not to score a lot of points. I'd like for them to score maybe 13 and have Ohio State win something like 43-13. But I really hope the offense breaks out and scores something closer to 50 or 60. But yeah, 43-13 may be what it is. All right, 2 shows in one day. Golly, I must love you a lot. Go Bucks.